Hello guys and welcome back. If you're new here, this is a playlist where we are building our chat application from scratch using NestJS and React. Currently, we have been able to create a WebSocket gateway, and we've been able to handle connections where we log the client's ID and the message connection successful, and we've also been able to listen to messages, or rather listen to events, and also emit some events as well. So currently our app is able to, let me just demonstrate what we are able to do. So I'm just going to go here in Postman. I'm using Postman for testing, and so we are going to create two instances of Postman of the WebSocket connection to simulate two people who are in different sessions. Okay, so here is where we put the event that we want to send to messages to, same as here, and events that we want to listen for, we have them here. And so let me send a message from this place, and we send it, and you can see that from this session we're able to see, because using the broadcast here where we are emitting on message, and since even this session is listening for that event, we are able to see it being logged here. And when we come to this other session, we can also see, and when it says send here hello world 2, we can also see it here, and we can see it here. Great. So with this, the next logical step to do right now is to set up authorization and authentication. And so today's episode will be on authentication and authorization. So I'm going to explain why we need this and how we are going to implement it, and the different ways we can do it, and the decision that I will take and why. So authorization and authentication is necessary when we want to make sure that the clients that are running on our server are the ones that are supposed to. So basically authorizing and making sure that we are running the right clients. Another thing is, we could decide to check, or rather authorize it from this place here when a client is connecting. So here during handle connection, and we're going to be using JWT. First of all, if I didn't mention that, we're going to be using JWT, which stands for JSON Web Token, and it's a widely used library for authorizing and authentication. So we can decide to check for authorization here, or check for the token here, but we can also decide to create an adapter that basically checks for it during initialization of the app, or rather during the initialization of the socket. So which approach am I going to take? I am not going to check for the authorization inside the gateway. Why? Because that is not very scalable. Right now we only have one gateway, but what if we have several more? That would mean repeating the logic inside each and every gateway, and that is not good for maintenance, and it is not good for scalability, and also it's just code repetition, which is very much discouraged when you are creating software. And since this is Nest, we'd like to take full advantage of the capabilities that Nest has for us. And just to demonstrate how it would have been if I decided to use it here, what it would have looked like, it would be something like creating a token variable here, and maybe using a JWT service and verify here, and then that's just pass the payload of the user, and or sorry, not the payload, the token, and verify it. But then you see, every time a person is connecting, they'd have to send the token, right? And then we'd have to verify that token. So this is how it would have been, and we'll just check if the token is working, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, and so on. So okay, actually this wouldn't be token, it would be payload, but you get the idea. So instead of doing this, what I'm going to do is, we are going to use the adapter pattern, and I'm going to just create here a folder called adapters, and inside here we're going to create the WebSockets adapter dot TypeScript like that. And here what we're going to do is basically we're going to export a class called authorization adapter, which extends the IO adapter like that. And this touches on the concepts of polymorphism, inheritance and object-oriented programming. So if you'd like for me to create another playlist explaining or introducing object-oriented programming, please do so in the comments. Leave a comment and I will try and see if I can do that. So before we do this, let us first of all create an auth folder, and inside here we're going to create our auth module. Actually, I think this might be the best time to show you something cool. In Nest, since Nest has a CLI tool, you can use it to generate modules, services, and so on. So these folders that are usually inside SRS are generally known as resource. And what is it a resource? A resource is, think of it as something where you're going to save it in the database and you're going to retrieve it from the database. It's like, just as the word says, a resource. And resources have one, or rather they have two or more of these three things. They have a module file, and they have a controller or a service. So they could have any or all of those three. And so our auth folder is going to have all three. So I think this should be a great opportunity to demonstrate that. So Nest generate resource, and we're just going to pass here a flag that says no spec, which basically means do not give us test files. And a test file, an example of a test file is like this. So we do not want that in our auth resource. So we're going to run that command, and it's going to ask us if we want a REST, a GraphQL, or a WebSocket or a microservice. For us, we just want a REST API, and it asks us if we would like to generate CRUD entry points. This is just a boilerplate of all the CRUDs that would. Let me show you how it looks with the CRUD and entry points. And this is one of the superpowers of Nest. It helps you generate boilerplate very fast. And you can see in our service, it already created a boilerplate of the things that you basically do in CRUD, which is creating, fetching all, fetching one, updating and removing, and also sets up the controller of the same. But for us, and also it sets the DTO. So this would be very beneficial in a HTTP or when you're building a REST API. But for us, we do not need all of that. This project is not it's not mainly focused on authorization per se. It's focused on the sockets. So for us, you're going to keep it at a minimal. And so I'm just going to run that command again, and it's going to ask me if it's a REST API, and then I'm then gonna say no, don't create the boilerplate for me. And I'm going to come here, and even though it does not create the whole boilerplate, it helps us by creating some of the boilerplates that we would have had to create manually. And so let's come here in our service, and I'm going to implement an in-memory database. Again, this is not ideal, but we are not mainly focused on the database part yet, or on the persisting the data to the database yet. Right now we just want to set up the basic authorization, and later we will then think about that. So for now, let us put the data in memory, and here I'm going to define a function called, let's call it sign up, and we're going to be receiving a body which is of type any for now. And basically this body, all it's going to do is that it's going to this dot let's put this in plural so that it makes more sense. Users push, and we're going to push the body like that, and we're just going to return the body, telling them, hey, you've signed up. And then we have sign in, and sign in, we're just going to take the username, which is a string, and we're going to take the password, which is also a string, and most of the auth services will obviously check if the password is correct, and if it is, they let you in the program, in the software. Let's say that. Okay, so let's do that. First of all, we're going to find the user, so we're going to let's find the user with that username is the same as username. Let's strictly check for that. And so if the user is available, we check for the password. So if user dot password is not equal to the password that has been passed, what we're going to do is that we're going to throw an error. So we could return new unauthorized exception like that, meaning the person is not authorized. Or if the password passes, then we could just return the user like that. Okay, I just want to point out that if we because later we're going to implement JWT, if we are going to do that, this is basically where we're going to do it. Excuse me, because this is where we will generate the token from the payload, which we will make from the body here. So with that in place, we can come here in the controllers, and so first of all, because I created the auth twice, I'm pretty sure, yeah, they've been installed twice here. Remember the first time I was trying to demonstrate? That's another good thing about using the Nest CLI. When you generate a resource or a module, it automatically gets added here so that you do not have to do it manually, which I think is a cool thing. So let's come here in our controller, and in our controller, so do you remember when I said that in gateways, WebSocket gateway is similar to @controller decorator in when you're dealing with a HTTP type of application? So this is what I meant, because this is HTTP but this is WebSockets. I think now the idea kind of makes more sense. And so here we're going to create a post route, and here it's going to be sign in, and we're going to name it sign in. Okay, sorry about that. We're going to name it sign in like that, and here we're going to listen from the body, and the body is of type any. Again, oh, I keep wondering why it's giving me all those errors, but it's because I'm doing this inside the constructor. Yeah, it's not supposed to be inside the constructor, sorry. So let's do it outside here like that, and we have to import the body from NestJS common like that, and here we're just going to return oh yeah, it's already imported for us. Sign in. Okay, let's call this first sign up, because that is the first thing we have to do, obviously. And then here we should pass body. Do we not have a function called sign up? Spelling mistake. So like that. So first of all, we sign up, which will save it in our database, and then we create another post which is sign in. So let me do that, and then here it's sign in like that, and again we're going to take the body decorator, taking the body of type any, and then here we're going to return this dot auth service dot sign in, and we're going to pass body dot username and body dot password like that. So what are we doing? We are creating, even though this is a WebSocket application, we still need a little bit of HTTP when we are logging in and signing up. There's no way of doing that. We have to do that. There's no way around that. So let me first format this very well. So we've created a controller which basically maps the routes, auth sign up and auth sign in, that we can use to create users here. And we have this push function which pushes the body to inside this array, and we have these that we can use to find. And yeah, okay. So to test this out, I am going to use the REST client. I could use Postman for this, but I feel like it's a simple thing that I can just do it here in VS Code without needing to go into Postman, and just use Postman for WebSockets, you know. So 127.0.0.1 in that route, and then let's just sign up, and sorry, it's a post request like that, and it's in the sign up route, and content type is application JSON, and in the body we're going to pass our username, which is Marcoid, and then the password is going to be pass123, a simple password, and we're just going to duplicate this because we're going to do the same for sign in. Did I just write sign up? Incredible. Like that. Sign in, and essentially it's the same password. And so let us just start server like that. So what I expect is that my auth is first of all working and doesn't have any errors. If it does, we are going to debug that together. But I expect that once I hit this route, it's going to create users and save them in the in-memory database. And since I'm returning the results of this function, and that function returns the whole the person that has been saved, I expect to see that in the response of this. So let's first of all run sign up, and it says that it doesn't. Okay, so essentially this means that our route is not registered very well. So let us check what is wrong with that. So it is sign up, sign in. So I think I know what the problem is. It's not just like that, it's supposed to have auth, and here the same. So how do I know it's supposed to have auth? It's because this basically embeds when you put this auth here. Essentially what it does is that it makes all these others assume that before this slash there's an auth. So it's just an automatic way of saying apply this auth to all of these endpoints. So yeah, so that should work when I send this, and it returns the body, right? And then now when I try to sign in, I should see, right? And if I try maybe to mess up with the password addition, I should get an unauthorized. Great. So with that working, we can go ahead and use JWT here. And so for that, Let us just create another here. For that, we are going to install NestJS JWT, and NestJS has a very nice developer experience when dealing with JWT. It's quite simple, and the documentation is also quite clear, so working with JWT in Nest is more or less one of the easiest things you could do. And so let us create a constructor, and inside this constructor we are going to have JWT service, which is of type JWT, this from JWT here, like that. And we are going to come here. Actually, let's do this. Let's push this, sorry, all the way here, like that. And once a person is signing up, let us create a token. Let us first create a payload, and the payload is just going to be from username of body.username, sorry about this, like that. That's basically going to be our payload. Normally, if you are dealing with a more complex application, you'd have a bit more in your payload, but for us this is enough. And so we are going to create a token from this, which we will need to use an async function here, because we are going to await this .jwt service dot sign async, and here we are going to pass the payload that we just prepared. And like that, we can now embed, or rather attach, the token to our body, like that. And then now we can now save the body, and then now return we return the body, and in our sign up it just returns. And what we have to do so that our JWT service is registered in Nest, you must import it here. You must import its module here, like this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get JWT module dot. So let me do this for clarity. Let's start on a new line here. JWT module dot register, like that. And here what we can do is that we can decide to, okay, we can decide to set it first of all global, meaning it applies everywhere. Let us put a comma there. And I'm just having a hard time remembering what the other options were. Yeah, these ones. So let's create a secret key. So you have to put here a very sophisticated and a very random secret key, not the one that I'm going to put. So never use never use this 1 2 3. In general, you want to maybe have it in your environment as one of your environment variables, and fetch it dynamically using config service that is provided by Nest. But for us, we're just going to do that. And then the other option that we're going to put is the sign options. And here we can now set the expiry date of our token, and let's just put it to 2 hours for now, like that. And I think that should set up everything for us. You must make sure that you see such things in your logs, because this means that our JWT has been initialized successful, and that means that it's working as it should. Most of the times you'll find, so for example, if you forget to do this, let's just assuming we forgot to do that, and we were trying to use JWT service here without importing its module, you will find such an error which tells you that there's an unknown dependency, because in Nest everything that you want it to be known by the Nest application, you must include it in the module files. And so that's why we're importing the JWT module, and in return the auth module is then imported in the app module, and so on. And so Nest is able to recognize JWT service as a dependency. Remember, Nest relies heavily on dependency injection. Okay, so let us test that out very quickly. So let us sign up, and what we are supposed to see, a token. So we're supposed to get the token, and then now we sign in unauthorized. Yeah, remember I changed the password, so let us use the correct password, and we are able to see the token that was generated. Great. Now with this setup, if I move too quickly, just tell me in the comment section. But we set up a simple route where we can just sign up and sign in, and then we set up the services for signing in and signing up, but in memory. Right now it's not being persisted in a database somewhere. And so with that, we can then proceed with our adapter. Okay, I was going to continue and write the adapter for our socket, but I think the tutorial has gone longer than I wanted it to go, so we're going to stop here for now, and then in the next episode we're then going to implement the adapter, which is going to use our JWT tokens, and it's going to use our authorization that we've just laid the grounds for. So see you in the next episode. And I know this has been a bit technical this time, it has been a bit tricky, but you can watch it as many times as you want. You can research more on the areas that I may have explained poorly. Yeah, so see you in the next episode, and I hope you enjoyed the content.